Jasma, and today we're making raisin bread. This is a healthy and delicious bread that is very simple to make, and it's a little different from other types of bread because we're shaping it first and then we're going to let it rise. It is shaped like a croissant, so it's also very pretty. Let's get started. For the ingredients, you will need 1 cup of all-purpose flour, half a cup of whole wheat flour, half a teaspoon of salt, 80 milliliters of warm water about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 1½ teaspoons of active dry yeast, 1 egg, 1 teaspoon of grapeseed oil, 1 tablespoon of milk, 2 tablespoons of packed brown sugar, a 1/3 cup of raisins, and about a tablespoon of egg wash. And to make egg wash, you just need equal portions of egg and milk. Starting off in a bowl, I have some warm water, about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to add in the yeast. Now we're going to set it aside until it is activated and nice and foamy on top. In a bowl, we're going to mix together the wet ingredients. So I'm going to crack in 1 egg. I'm going to slightly whisk that up. Then to that, I'm going to add in the milk, the grapeseed oil, you could also use any type of flavorless oil, and the brown sugar. Then just mix that until combined. Then in a separate bowl, I'm going to mix together the dry ingredients. So today I'm using 2 types of flour, half a cup of whole wheat flour and a cup of all-purpose flour. But you could also use all whole wheat flour or all-purpose flour. It's just up to you. So I'm going to pour that into the bowl. And to that, I'm going to add in the salt. And we're just going to mix that until combined. Once the yeast is nice and foamy on top, that means it is ready. So now we can add this to the dry ingredients. I digged a little well inside of the dry ingredients. This is where we're going to pour in the wet ingredients. But first I'm going to pour in the activated yeast. And I'm also going to pour in the wet ingredients. I'm going to be making this dough by hand today, but you could also use a stand mixer. So I'm just going to use a spatula to mix together the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients until it just forms a dough. And then I'm going to flip it out onto a work surface and knead it. And make sure you do not use a whisk for this because this is going to turn into a dough and it's going to get stuck in the whisk. The ingredients are pretty much combined now. You can see it's not perfectly smooth just yet. So now I'm going to flip it onto the surface. I'm going to be working on my countertop. You could also use a cutting board. This is quite a soft dough, so it's going to be really hard to knead. And then I'm going to dump on the raisins. So I'm going to knead the raisins into the dough. And then just knead this for about 8 minutes or so until the dough is nice and smooth. And this is quite sticky, so if it's sticking too much to your hands, you could add a little bit of flour, but do not add too much, or it's going to toughen up the dough. I've been kneading for around 8 minutes, and this has formed a nice and smooth ball. It's not going to be perfectly smooth since there are raisins and since I used whole wheat flour, but now we're ready to shape it. I have floured both sides of the dough to make sure that it doesn't stick while I'm rolling it out. And I'm going to shape it into a round disc. You don't want to add too much flour or it's going to toughen up the dough. And I'm going to grab a rolling pin and just roll it into a nice and round circle. I flip the dough around once in a while to make sure that the bottom is not sticking. And this is also going to get a round, even circle. So now we're ready to start cutting it. You also want to prepare a baking tray lined with parchment paper. You could also use a silicone mat if you want to. I like to use a bench scraper when it comes to cutting dough. I use this quite a lot when I'm working with dough, but of course you could use a regular knife to cut this. To cut, make sure the bottom is nice and loose one last time, and then we're going to cut it into 12 equal pieces. Once you have cut 12 equal pieces out of that circle, we are ready to start shaping it into a little croissant. So take one triangle, and starting from the wider side, we're going to roll it up. You want to roll it up pretty tight. but don't press it down or anything like that. And then we're going to place it on the tray and do the same thing to the rest of the triangles. Now we're going to set it somewhere warm for it to rise until it is doubled in size, and the rise time may vary depending on the temperature of where you put it. Make sure to cover this with a layer of plastic wrap, or you could also cover it with a damp towel to make sure that it doesn't dry out while it's rising. Now brush on a thin layer of egg wash once the bread has doubled in size. To make egg wash, mix together equal portions of egg and milk. Brush on a thin layer to give it a nice and golden brown color, but do not brush on too much or else it's going to look burnt. Then place it into the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes. The raisin bread has been baking in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for around 10 minutes. You can see it is nice and golden brown on top, and to see if it is done, just insert a toothpick into the center, and if it comes out clean, that means it is cooked completely. This raisin bread is soft, it's sweet, and also very pretty because of its golden brown color and its shape. It is also quite healthy and simple to make since you only have to rise it once, and it only takes 10 minutes to bake. So I hope you could try this out. You could eat it as a breakfast or a snack. Thanks for watching and see you guys next time. Bye!